Good morning, Boston, but I'm in Washington, D.C. Yeah, we've been lots of places, haven't we? Right? Figuratively or literally. Um, be fierce, be gentle. That is the card that came up right at the end of the reading that I noticed in the Wildflower deck. Theme of the week and theme of life, right? How do we express ourselves and grow our relationships? Like, yeah, what was that other one? Um, grow where your heart is fed well. Oh, yeah, daughter of wands. I want to talk about that too. So plant so your own heart will grow by Hafiz. That's in the wildflower deck that we used yesterday. Um, but the only way that you can do that is to show up every day, to be committed, to be, commitment can be fierce. Just showing up even in the quiet ways that we do is a fierce commitment to anything, but you're doing it in this like gentle way that cultivates things. We can't just go ripping around because you're going to end up pulling out things that actually matter to you, and then you're like, oh shit, and now you got to replant, and you know what I mean. Like the energy that goes into that is a lot. Not that that's bad, but I think we've learned at this point some better skills in order to cultivate the things that we want in our life. You may not be able to do it in the same gardens, i.e., the same situations, your work, your your family, but you can do these things in another way. The other thing that came up was I was very. I think if you look at yesterday's reading, today is Monday, March 23rd. Um, the reading for Sunday, the 22nd, I was curious about what these flowers were. They weren't a rose. They weren't, you know what I mean? They weren't the roses that came up with the Two of Cups in the reading for Saturday. So we do have relationships that are on offer that are ones that we want to plant so our own heart can grow. Like these like one way street things don't work. But if they don't work, that's fine. Let's figure out a way to at least, be parallel. We're not, throwing people out of our lives. We're just changing the way we connect with them, the way we interact with them. We're just changing our role with them. And that takes a lot of, again, gentleness with self to put those ego needs aside, to know that maybe you're not getting the fulfillment that you want from certain situations. That's why that Four of Cups came up. Like maybe it's not the right setup. Maybe I need to be work with this, but working with it in a fierce yet gentle way. This Daughter of Wands came up yesterday, and again, I was noticing it was a daughter, a young energy that wants to learn. Coming towards things with an attitude of curiosity. This is a young snake. We've shed the skins, but these flowers here kept. And then I went to pick my clothes out and I was like, they're azaleas. So this is a card from. So I went to another deck last night that all of a sudden, like I kind of, just kind of kept working with it in the back of my mind. Yeah, we keep working with things to let them reveal themselves and being open. Again, this was a messages coming through, but in a way that we're also learning. A daughter is a young energy. Like there's a learning energy about how to receive messages without being in a reactive way. There's nothing reactive. This is a calm snake. And I'm actually noticing that the snake is in an eight, the symbol of the eight. This is commitment. Eights are commitment of tying the knot on some, commitments. But this is a young energy. It's working with the energy in order to bring it to a different level of maturity. And so, wise soul. When I looked later I'm talking hours later, like nighttime situation. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, those flowers in the card were azaleas. So I went to the Flower Therapy Oracle card deck by Doreen Virtue, and your soul carries ancient wisdom. Please embrace it as you have the knowledge to help those around you. So even though we have a daughter, a young person, remember I was vibing on something older. I'm like, but I feel like this could also come from an older daughter as well, but definitely somebody younger than you. somebody, yeah, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But there's so ancient wisdom, you actually do have a lot of information. It's we're learning, and what it is what's going on is we're learning how to employ it. We're learning how to practically use it in a way that pulls in the wisdom that we already have, but being open to understanding that there's more that we're going to learn. Like, that's the journey. Welcome to life, right? If you think you've got this on lock, then you wouldn't be here, right? You'd be, yeah, you'd be, you've grown to a stage of enlightenment that you've moved on. This is funny. I put the wildflower. And then, yeah, again, coming up with that rose, I think those came up, this came up with, oh, yeah, the way to the harmony that we desire is coming through with what did I say? A steel hand and a velvet glove. And that's the only way that we can continue cultivating and making meaningful lives, meaningful connections. Again, that Two of Cups, meaningful connections. How those connections turn out are really not up to us. We just have to continue to show up and do the work and be grateful for the people that are in our lives and who we have, and grateful for everything that we have around us. Show appreciation. How do we show appreciation? By showing up to something every day, working with it. An art form, oh golly, where did I read it? Your art is something that you practice every day. That can be anything. You can make anything an art form. Daughter of Wands, creativity. The Suit of Wands is about creativity, your passions, what you love, like what you want to, invest your energy into. They're action cards, right? Energy. So like today, for instance, like I have a thing I'm going to go to a little later with a friend, but I set my alarm and I made sure I got up early enough so I could do my meditation. I could have my morning the way I like to start it, and also have time to do this reading for everybody. Because I love doing, how do we show up in the small ways? It doesn't have to be great guns. Just small, even a half an hour spent on something, 15 minutes. Wow. If you can start devoting that kind of time, it's devotion. Devotion. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. It can just be a small thing that you do that keeps what you love alive. What are the cards for today? Like, share, subscribe. Send it to somebody who you think needs it. Take what you like, leave the rest. Direct message me if you want your own personal reading. So, interesting. So we have the Father of Swords coming up again. He came up in yesterday's reading. You saw me shuffle the deck. We're still taking decisive action. We're taking in information. We're still committed to truth, looking for truth. And we're, definitely standing back, not taking things at necessarily face value, not being reactive. This isn't in the reverse. That would be a reactive, selfish motives. So we want to communicate in a way that is fierce but gentle. Again, this is a father. It's not a king. It's not, a political figure of some sort. It's a father. We still need to hold our line. We're not accepting, just anything. Even though this is a predatory animal, it's a choosy animal. It's not a scavenger, right? Like, it's not like a crow or a vulture. Wonderful. They make, those are fantastically needed animals. And, but this is a choosy animal. Knows, like I brought up, that it's not the nocturnal nature of this animal means that you're going to be taking your rest. You're not going to try to get everything in. Rome is not, that was something that came up for me the other day. Rome is not built in a day. This man knows that, so it's making some decisive, very clean actions. Stay clean in your communication. Stay clear. stay in truth. Use your sword as a way to discern the truth. This is a very discerning individual that makes decisions with great discernment. Second card that came up is the Three of Swords. This is one that came up in the bottom of the deck when I was doing some other stuff. I don't think I actually spoke to it, but there's been a lot of heartbreak. There's been a lot of interfering action in your day-to-day stuff. Again, these are all day-to-day cards. There's no major arcanas here. That Strength card came up. I feel like the card read yesterday was one that kind of is the overarching theme for the week, whereas now we're looking at what the energy is available here today on Monday. So this may be the central card. This may be how you feel, but remember it's actually thoughts, communication. There's a lot of entanglements, but when the Three of Swords shows up, there is a broken-hearted situation that has the opportunity to heal, because you know what? It needs the light of truth. It shows that everything is bound up, everything is very entangled. So it's really important to bring this kind of energy in. But remember, he's not a king this isn't in the reverse. It's a king that's listening to and is going to take some time to make decisions. And that's what came up. Have the strength to take your time to make decisions. There may be a lot of, like I said, like brokenhearted stuff that's maybe confusing or clouding the issue, but stay clear, and know when you've got to back off. This is a guy who knows how to create boundaries and uses his sword skillfully to do that, not in a way that's in this kind of shut the door, fuck you manner, right? And then we have the Ten of Wands. So again, like at some point, things might feel a little burdensome, like there's too much to carry. But at the bottom of the deck is the Eight of Pentacles. So we're still willing to show up and build the network that, again, doing those small things. I was feeling the Eight of Pentacles a lot this morning, it was just coming up for me based on something else I had read last night about some available energy that we have this week. Eight of Pentacles, we're making, we're building a web. Rome wasn't built in a day. And this is this is not some gossamer thing that we're building. And so, yeah, it might feel tedious. It might feel overwhelming. And you just want to put the whole thing down and be done with it. But then we're just staying in this same cycle of heartbreak. We've got to do something different. We have to cultivate that strength. All of that is on offer. All of that is on offer. Yeah. E.O. White, always be on the lookout for wonder. And when things get a little burdensome, look up, look around you, be in wonder. I'm going to pull another card from the Wildflower deck by Katie Daisy. The deck that we're using today is I'm still working with I'm still feeling like we need to work with the Wild Unknown Tarot by King Krans. It's just really a deck that I think has some really interesting artwork. And yeah, just know that you are in, when we feel like we need to like be in control because of this kind of stuff, and it's just overwhelming. It is time to just be in wonder, to step back from the situation, be in gratitude, be in wonder for the situations that give us the opportunity to kind of work with these things. Know that you have got this, but it is be fierce, be gentle. And what's coming up here? Seek magic every day. Yeah, seek the magic, and again, be in gratitude that you're a human being having this experience in life, and so is everybody else. So is everybody else. It's not just about you. Like, how can we make it more about how we show up for everybody? Again, doing those small practices, meditation, taking your time, getting up early to make sure that you are, doing the things that you want to do that are taking good care of yourself. And 2 cards from the flower therapy. Time to decide. Make a decision now so you can move forward. That might feel like what's going on. And by purifying, and this came up in the reverse, like I don't really know what's happening with that. But again, this is to emphasize, purify your life of negative people, places, and experiences, and you attain true peace. So again, being very, very clear about where you are and where somebody else is, and working with what you have helps you know how to move forward and knows what's for you and what's not. What just feels too burdensome and isn't something you want to be involved in. Really decide like where you want to, how much energy you want to put into something. Because if something does feel too burdensome, that's something that you need to look at and decide if that is a situation for you. Oh, reach for the stars. You deserve only the best. And this is all you should focus your attention on. If something isn't giving to you in the measure that you're giving back, it's not a bad thing to, step back and again, like get really clear about where you need to be in a situation. And be very clear about your boundaries in a loving and gentle way. I'm going to leave it at that. Like, share, subscribe. Like I said, if you want your own private message, direct message me on any of the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I love you. Have a great day.